Let us talk about week 3 in the NFL. Week 3 in the NFL started on Thursday night. New York Jets at Cleveland Browns. It was a very fun game to watch, even though it was these two teams. It was good because you get to see Donald, and so that was nice.
1 versus 3, so to speak.
Yes.
Although it's not really 1 versus 3, it's one's going up against the other's defense.
So what happened, if y'all didn't watch Thursday night, is Tyrod Taylor started the game and they floundered. They floundered horribly in the first 2 quarters. Well, I wouldn't say the full first 2 quarters, because what I'm about to tell you may surprise you. So Tyrod Taylor was doing a horrible, horrible job. The crowd was already screaming, Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield. So they were already screaming, hey, let's get Mayfield in. And then on a play, Tyrod Taylor gets tackled, and you can see his head just smash into the ground. And he is now placed on concussion protocol, which equals what? The crowd got what they wanted.
But under a pseudo-legitimate reason.
Let's see how pseudo-legitimate that was.
How hard was his head really bounced off the ground?
And was it really a concussion, or did they use that as an excuse? Which I think it was more of they used that, hey, we saw your head hit. You could have a concussion, so let's just put you on that and see what we can do.
Better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
But in the meantime, we're going to put your replacement in the game now.
Well, here's the thing. Hugh Jackson is coaching for his life right now.
Oh, you think?
Well, I don't.
He equaled his win total over the last 2 years on Thursday night. Hell.
So Mayfield comes in, and automatically, if you watch the game, you could see the whole team just changed. The atmosphere of the whole team changed. I mean, Carlos Hyde couldn't even run the ball. The throwing game was so horrible. Then all of a sudden, with a minute 24 left in the second quarter, Mayfield comes out, goes down 47 yards, and they get a field goal to go into halftime. Well, he comes back in. He ends up going for 201 yards with, what was it? With 1 touchdown?
Mayfield?
Yes.
Yes.
He had 1 touchdown, which actually was not a passing touchdown. It was a receiving touchdown. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they did the Philly, the Philly special.
Mm-hmm.
So, congratulations to Baker Mayfield. I do want to let people know, hamper your expectations. He is a rookie. It was against the Jets. That defense of Cleveland is beastly, but they were going up against another rookie quarterback. So I don't think if you go to harder teams, you may not be getting the ball back as much as you did against the Jets and Donald.
Another thing you got to take into consideration, yes, you had the number 1 overall draft pick leading his team against the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft leading his team against each other. However, what you got to remember is coming into the season, all you had on Darnold, and for that matter, any of these quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round, all you had was college game tape. These offenses are different than what you see in the NFL. So really what you're starting to see now, since Darnold basically started the first, got in on the first game, teams are starting to see film on Darnold, and the more film you get on these quarterbacks, the more it's going to be easier, or the easier it will be for the defensive coordinators to game plan against these guys. Going into the season, all you knew was what he did at USC. Was it the best coaching that he could have had at USC? That's questionable. But anyway, Darnold, they got film on you now. Mayfield, they're going to start getting film on you, because even though Hugh Jackson's trying to be coy and say, well, I don't know who the starter is going to be next week, yada, 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 and all that, I think he pretty much know just from the way that team reacted under Mayfield. Until Mayfield just really stinks it up, he's going to stay the starter.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely is. And the other good thing that Cleveland now has is they actually have a kicker that can kick a field goal.
Who'd they sign?
They got Greg Joseph,
Okay.
who actually he hit a 45-yard field goal to go into the half, which when you saw it, it looked like it was going to go left, and then all of a sudden it just hooked in right. And, of course, everybody in the stadium just cheered because now they actually have a kicker that can make a field goal.
Well, at least got very lucky on
Yes.
making a field goal.
Yes.
Now, Hugh Jackson, though, like we were saying, okay, so over, if you include the first 3 weeks of the NFL and the last 2 seasons, he's now 2-32 and 1 over the last 2 seasons plus the first 3 weeks of this season.
I think Cleveland does have a chance this year if they can protect Mayfield. If the offensive line can protect Mayfield.
I think that's a good bet. I mean, I don't think their offensive line is horrible.
No, it's not.
The sad part is if Mayfield goes on a tear and actually, say he wins half his games.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that enough to save Hugh Jackson's job? No. I mean, I feel like Hugh Jackson is next to Marvin Lewis has got to be the luckiest SOB in the game of football.
They have to have a winning record.
It's like the freaking Teflon, it's like the Teflon Don. You everything just slides off you. It's like, oh yeah, hey, you really suck, but yeah, we're gonna keep you around anyway, just because you're a good guy. That does not work in the NFL.
They have a chance. Cincinnati's got to fall for them. Pittsburgh has their own issues in their locker room. Bell's not there. Antonio Brown, you're hearing all this stuff. Now he's coming out in the media and said...
Did Tomlin lose the locker room?
I believe Tomlin has lost the locker room.
So does that how hot of a seat does that put him on?
I also don't think it's fully him. I also think that it's the fact that you have a aging quarterback who stays in the pocket because he's a big guy. He thinks he can get hit, but he's at the age he is. He's I believe 38 now.
Getting a little brittle.
And you haven't looked at the future of your team or anything. You're just sticking with him. Well, if he can't throw the ball anymore, Antonio Brown's not getting the ball, so he's getting upset about his getting targets, which I don't mind because I have Juju Schuster in my fantasy league, so it doesn't really matter on that one. But then you got Le'Veon Bell, who is still holding out, which, look, when it comes to Le'Veon Bell, I understand both sides. I understand the fact that, hey, wait a second, we're willing to pay you $14 million this year, cash that out and see what you want to do. But I also understand where Le'Veon Bell's coming from. Running backs are not given hardcore, long-term contracts because of the beatings they get. Well, every time he has been put on franchise, they've used him as an absolute workhorse. So he's looking out for himself, his investment, saying, look, if y'all use me as a workhorse again, that takes another year off my big money. I may not be able to make my big money. So I understand both sides. He's looking at it as like, look, I want to keep my body sane so I can get that big money.
What about Todd Gurley?
Oh, Todd Gurley's going to want his money.
Oh, he just got paid.
He just got paid, yeah.
But does Le'Veon Bell, should Le'Veon Bell be looking at that and saying, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit older than Gurley. Does that mean I should get paid the same, or does that mean I should be paid a little bit more? And at that point, shouldn't there be a point where they should be able to work from and come up to some kind of agreement on a contract and pay the man so he can come back in and who knows? Is the holdout just on money? Is it a matter of, is he trying to negotiate
it's
carries?
It's also respect too with the way.
But is he trying to negotiate carries? I mean, is he sitting there trying to put the team on a point saying, look, you can't rush me over 300 times in a season. If I go over 300 carries, you got to pay me X amount of money.
No, I think what it is for one.
I think that would be a good point in the contract, though.
Before I go on with another reason for the holdout, and I totally forgot, so let me go back, and maybe I can go back the other way. I
apologize, but...
No, you're good. So, for me, when it comes to Le'Veon Bell, When you have a player like that, you've got to go away from paying the position. When you have a player like Le'Veon Bell, or you have a player like Antonio Brown, J.J. Watt, Khalil Mack, these generational players, when you look at that, I agree. You've got to look at the player and who. You can't look at the position because that's why he's getting lowballed. But the way he plays that position, you need to pay the man for being the man, not paying him for being a running back.
I agree with you. I think they need to be. I think they need to be looked at in their individual respects,
Yes.
if you will. I mean, you can't sit there and say, okay, well, because Carlos Hyde is making X amount of money, then, if that's the best that's out there, then, I mean, I'm like freaking 3 times better than Carlos Hyde. Yeah, you should be paid accordingly.
I mean, you even look at Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins got the money he got, and what happened? Aaron Rodgers blew that out of the water. Why? Because
it's Aaron Rodgers.
The only reason why Tom Brady isn't getting his max
Giselle?
is, well, for one, you have Giselle, so he doesn't need it. But then he's willing to not get that money so you can pay Gronk. You can pay Josh Gordon now. You could pay Brandon Cooks when you had him. That's why they're able to do
Edelman.
so many trades and all that stuff.
Edelman just got paid.
Yeah, because Brady keeps his salary low.
You gotta appreciate that about Brady.
I do.
He could be making ridiculous money. Absolutely ridiculous money, but
Out of anybody, I think he could actually be making $200,000 with his resume.
200 mil, or-
200 mil. I think he could pull that in with his resume.
I think
Maybe a few years ago. I think at the age of 40 over, I don't think
true.
he would really
but
get that. But
if
let's
he
put
it this way,
negotiate last
if it was, say-
negotiation, I think he could have got it.
if it was say 5-7 years ago,
Yes.
he could probably pull the 200 million.
Yes.
But even so, Brady's making what, 19 million a year? You can't tell me that he couldn't be making 25.
Oh, I agree. I agree. So, back to Le'Veon Bell before we move on to the future games is, I think one of the things that also went south with the whole negotiation is that you had members of the O-line and offense come out against Le'Veon Bell, which usually you do not see very often. A lot of teams like leaving that stuff in the locker room and they don't go and comment. But you actually had Steeler offensive linemen cussing his name into the media and all that. Well, that's going to degrade the whole negotiation period. Do you really think a player is going to come out and be like, really? I've been the rushing leader for this long. I've helped maintain this team, and then y'all are going to stab me in the back? Y'all know what I'm trying to do. Y'all would do the same thing if you were in my place. And honestly, most of those players would do the same exact thing if they were in his position. So the fact that they're coming out against him in the media, not in the locker room, but the fact that they're actually coming out in the media against him, you know that's not making him happy, and I think that's making it a little bit tougher in the negotiation. Plus, I believe his agent should shut the hell up.
Well, you got a point there. The thing with Le'Veon Bell, how old is Le'Veon Bell right now? I mean,
28.
28. Okay. And what is the value you feel of Le'Veon Bell? I mean, if you were going to trade for him, if you can't come to an agreement, you are not going to sit there and just cut him loose. And
Oh, you're trading at least the first round. At least the first round.
I don't think you get a first round for him.
Oh, yeah, you would.
I
you
really
would.
don't, because
Especially if he sits out this year and he's got a little bit extra on his legs and all that stuff.
but
He's
all
going for a
the
first down.
abuse that he's taken.
And see,
throughout
that's
his
one of
career.
and that's one of the reasons why he's like, no, either pay me or I'm sitting out because I'm not doing this anymore. You're going to pay me to be a workhorse, or I'm not going to be a workhorse. You know, and all he wants is a commitment. He wants a nice paying commitment, but the biggest thing is he wants a commitment. He wants the Steelers to look at him and say, you know what, we're going to go with you for the next 5-6 years. That's what he wants. He wants that. He wants that comfort. He wants that safety net of being like, okay, I'm with this team unless they trade me, but I've got a solid check for the next 5-6 years.
Okay, well, Le'Veon Bell, we were incorrect on his age. The man is 26 years old. Same number as his jersey.
Wow. Okay.
And if you look at his
That's a lot more
career,
years.
total number of rushing attempts, and this is from 2013 through 2017. The man has 1,229 rushes and has rushed for 5,336 yards. Longest touchdown he's ever had is an 81-yard run, 35 touchdowns total. So you got to look. Yeah, you look at the tread. The guy's only 26. Yeah, is this a case where you actually get a first-round draft pick for a running back? I think at his age, yeah, the guy's averaging. It looks like he's averaging really about 250 carries a year is what the average is. 2013 he rushed 244. 14 he ran for 290 rushes. 15 he was beat up and injured. 113. 2016 261. Last year was where the Steelers ran him hard and ran him very hard. I mean, 321 carries total for 2017. Now, if I'm Le'Veon Bell's agent, though, I would sit there and try and get some kind of clause in there. If he goes over 275 rushes, you get some kind of incentive bonus. And if it goes over 300, then you get something else. I mean, it's one way to come up with money to pay him, but the man deserves to be paid.
All right, seeing how we're talking about Le'Veon Bell, let's jump on to that, and that's going to be Buccaneers hosting the Steelers on Monday Night Football. Tampa Bay is 2-0. Pittsburgh Steelers, like we said, are 0-1-1. Your leaders right now for Pittsburgh is Roethlisberger, Juju Smith-Schuster, and James Conner. With Buccaneers, you got Ryan Fitzpatrick, Deshaun Jackson, and Peyton Barber. Now, the interesting thing about this fact is Ryan fucking Fitzpatrick. I mean, that man, 819 yards with 8 touchdowns. He's 48-61 for attempts and completion. I mean, this is Ryan Fitzpatrick, just a very known journeyman in the league, and he is balling out, ladies and gentlemen. He has 8 touchdowns, only 1 interception, and he has 819 yards, and that's in 2 games. The man is balling out. For one, when Jameis Winston comes back next week, he doesn't have a job. He's on the bench. There's no way you would sit Ryan Fitzpatrick, especially with the way I think they have a chance. There's a lot of people saying that Pittsburgh could turn the tides, go 1-1-1. I don't think so. I think you're playing in Tampa with Ryan on the loose that he's on. No, I say Ryan Fitzpatrick goes for another 430 yards. I say he throws another at least 3 touchdowns, maybe 1 interception. But no, I say Ryan in Tampa Bay beat the Steelers. Steelers go 0-2-1. Final score, I'm going to go the Buccaneers by 10.
I'm not going to disagree with you on this game because I think going into Tampa Bay, the way that Ryan Fitzpatrick is playing, right now the man leads the NFL in 8 separate categories. And I mean, they're not BS categories. We're talking passer rating. He's got a 151.5 passer rating. That is 158.3 is perfect. That is pretty insane. He's averaging almost 410 yards a game. This guy is on fire. He has a great repertoire with his receivers. 10 points? Yeah, I almost question whether 10 points is enough.
I'm just looking at the 10 points because, I mean, the Steelers' defense, it's not fantastic, but you still have a good coach, defensive coordinator, and all that stuff in Pittsburgh. So that's why I'm going to say 10. If it goes above that, I would not be surprised, but I'm going to take the 10 points.
Okay, I take Tampa Bay, and there's going to be electricity Monday night when they take on Pittsburgh, and they will pull that out in Tampa.
All right. So now let us go to Sunday. Green Bay Packers at the Washington Redskins. Washington Redskins is coming in 1-1. Green Bay is coming in 1-0-1. The interesting fact on this is, of course, you have Alex Smith. He is thrown for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. Adrian Peterson is actually looking somewhat like an old Adrian Peterson. He is leading the team with 116 yards rushing with 1 touchdown off of 37 rushes, which for him, coming out and not playing how he's played, he's actually doing pretty well. Then, of course, you got to look at the Green Bay Packers. You got Aaron Rodgers throwing 567 yards for 4 touchdowns. You got Randall Cobb, who's caught 1 touchdown and caught for 172 yards. Then you got Jamal Williams, who has rushed for 106. Now, of course, no matter what you do, when you play the Green Bay Packers, there is pretty much only one team that you would actually maybe put a check mark on the other team's quarterback before Aaron Rodgers, and that would probably be the Patriots and Tom Brady. Other than that, when it comes to quarterbacks, who do you pick? You always pick Aaron Rodgers. But the fact with that is Aaron Rodgers is not 100%. He has come out in an interview this past week and says he is concerned about making that knee worse. So my question is, do you just say, screw it, sit him? It's Washington Redskins. Do you sit him and let him get that rest? Or do you play him?
I think you play Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is still going to be gimpy. He's got issues. He's going to have that brace on his knee. However, they are getting back Aaron Jones from suspension,
yes,
and he has the potential to be a very explosive back for Green Bay and could wind up stealing the starting gig this week with a good game. Now, Washington will be tough at home. I think this is a really tight game. I think the Packers are going to squeak this one out. It's going to be like a 27-24 game, but Washington will give them a hell of a good game on this. But Green Bay in a squeaker.
All right. Now we're going to go to Carolina, where the Panthers will be hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals, that's another team that has actually come out and surprised me. Andy Dalton and A.J. Green, and, well, Joe Mixon's injured, so it'll be Giovanni Bernard. But they
Giovanni Bernard for several weeks, so could be a good pickup for you fantasy guys.
4 to 5 weeks?
Yeah.
So if he's available in your fantasy league, pick him up. I did. You have Andy Dalton, who has thrown for 508 yards and 6 touchdowns. Like I said, Cincinnati, man, Marvin, let me tell you something right now. You better hope this stays up. This is your chance right now. With the way your team is going, it's got great cohesion right now. If you can keep that going, you actually may be able to make it worth the fact that they kept you on after 14 years of never winning a playoff game. Then you got the Carolina Panthers. You got Cam Newton with 496 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he's also run for a few touchdowns. You have Christian McCaffrey. He has received 20 balls for 147.
Insane pace this year.
Yes, Cam Newton has 1 rushing touchdown. He has rushed for 100 yards over 18 rushes. This is going to be a fun game to watch. They are in Cincinnati. Carolina's trying to get that second win, and Cincinnati wants to go 3-0 to start their series or start the season. All-time series is tied at 2-2-1. So they both have 2 wins, and they have that tie. So this is going to be a fun one to watch. It is a kickoff at 12 Central Time. I will not be able to really watch this because, of course, the Texans play at the same time, but we will get to that game here in a little bit. I say Cincinnati Bengals actually beat Carolina Panthers, but I'm going to say by 3 points. It's going to be a field goal. I think they can both score on each other. I think it'll be a nice, interesting game. They've played each other somewhat close in the past few years. The last time they played, they actually tied 37-37. The biggest victory was in 2002. Carolina beat them 52-31. The biggest spread, I should say, is in 1999, Carolina 27, Cincinnati 3. I think it's going to be a close game. You've got Giovanni Bernard, you've got A.J. Green, Andy Dalton, but then you also have Christian McCaffrey, Cam Newton, who's a dual threat. I say it's a 3-point game. I think it could be a shootout, but I say Carolina comes out on top by 3.
I think Carolina wins it by more than 3. McCaffrey's on a tear, despite Cam Newton. Cam Newton is, in my eyes, he's a good quarterback. He's an above-average quarterback. He's yet to make that leap to great quarterback. I think Christian McCaffrey.
I think he has to mature personally.
I think he's got a lot of maturing to go. I think he's still acts like an immature child. But yeah. He keeps getting wins when he needs to, so more power to him. McCaffrey and the Panthers wind up winning this game by at least a touchdown, if not more.
I can give you that touchdown. I'm going to stick with my 3, but I can definitely see that being a touchdown game. All right, next we go to New Orleans. New Orleans Saints 1-1, and they are going to host the 1-1 Atlanta Falcons. Drew Brees, a beast of a quarterback, thrown for 682 with 5 touchdowns. Michael Thomas has caught 28 for 269 with 3 touchdowns. Then you've got the offensive rookie of the year last year, and Alvin Kamara with 21 rushes for 75 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he has also received for 3 touchdowns. Then you've got, for the Atlanta Falcons, you got Matt Ryan, who's thrown 523 yards with 2 touchdowns. Julio Jones has yet to score a touchdown, but on 15 receptions, he has 233 yards. Then you got Tevin Coleman, because Freeman is injured. You've got 25 rushing yards. Then you got 126 yards off of 25 rushes with 1 touchdown. I'm going to say this right now, with the way Atlanta has been playing, the way their defense is playing, it's going to be a shootout, and I think it's going to be more a shootout on New Orleans Saints. I say the Saints win, and I say they win convincingly by at least 2 touchdowns.
You know, I this game actually is kind of tough right now. I don't know what's going on with New Orleans. New Orleans has not been the team that I was expecting them to be this year, and Atlanta is actually surprising me. I think this has the potential to be like one insane shootout, but Atlanta is missing some key defenders. I just think at home, I'm going to take Atlanta in a shootout, 41-38, something along those lines. I think both these guys are going to light it up, and I think Matt Ryan outduels. I think he outduels him as far as Drew Brees goes. And if you look at last year, Atlanta at home has been able to handle New Orleans over the last couple of years. So I'm sticking with Atlanta in this game.
All right, next we go to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is 1-1, and they are going to be hosting the defending champions, who are also 1-1, in the Philadelphia Eagles. Andrew Luck, this is his first time back in 2 years. He has thrown for 498 yards with 4 touchdowns. T.Y. Hilton has caught for 2 touchdowns, caught total of 12 receptions for 129 yards. Jordan Wilkins has rushed 24 times for 101 yards with no touchdowns. Then you look at Nick Foles, who is leading, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, but he will not be starting. Your starter for this game tomorrow will be...
Who?
Carson Wentz. Then you got Zach Ertz, who's received 16 receptions for 142 yards, no touchdowns. Jay Ajayi, who is actually out for the game due to his back. He is the leader, so I will say his stats of 22 rushes for 85 yards and 3 touchdowns. But he is not going to be playing. So the 2 major leaders that they have right now on their team are not going to be playing. It'll be interesting to see what Carson Wentz will do. Carson Wentz we have not seen play since he was destined to be MVP after Deshaun Watson went down, but then Carson Wentz went down, and they gave it to Brady.
3 weeks left in the season, and you go down.
So he is a Super Bowl quarterback, but he is not the Super Bowl quarterback.
Well, is he actually a Super Bowl quarterback? He never played in a Super Bowl.
He didn't, but he's a quarterback on the team. It's like David Carr. He was on the bench.
Is that kind of like Trent Dilfer?
Exactly. Same thing. You're a Super Bowl quarterback because your team made it to the Super Bowl and you're a quarterback. But you're not the Super Bowl quarterback like Nick Foles is the Super Bowl quarterback who happens to also be the Super Bowl MVP, and he's going to be sitting on the bench.
Something you did not touch on, though, they're playing in Philadelphia. They're playing in Philadelphia. Man, Philadelphia is going to take this game by at least 10 to 14 points. And with Wentz coming back, I think you're gonna have the fans are gonna be just going nuts. I mean, unless if he has any moments where he stinks it up, then okay, maybe because it's Philadelphia, they may get a little grouchy, but nonetheless, Carson Wentz back. I think he lights it up. Plus, you're probably going to be getting Alshon Jeffrey back next week. So Philadelphia team on the rise. Philadelphia takes us by at least 10.
All right.
Especially at home.
Yeah, Philadelphia takes it. I say they win by 10. Next, we're going to Minnesota. And this I'm just going to state right now. Well, let me get into the stats real quick. All right, so Minnesota is hosting the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills leaders are Josh Allen, rookie, 319 yards with one touchdown.
After one game, Josh Allen is their leader?
Yes. Wow. Zay Jones has 5 receptions for 98 yards. LaShawn McCoy has 16 rushes for 61 yards. And that's their team leaders, not a single one in double digits. Then you have Minnesota Vikings, and, of course, you got Kirk Cousins, 669 yards with 6 touchdowns. Adam Thielen with 18 receptions for 233 yards, 1 touchdown. And Dalvin Cook, who is actually out for the game, 26 rushes, 78 yards. This, I'm going to state right now, this is going to be a rout. I say Minnesota wins by, I say Kirk Cousins, I say he goes for off the Buffalo Bills defense. I say Kirk Cousins gets at least 5 touchdowns, gets another 300 and something odd yards. I say this is an absolute rout, and Minnesota wins 36-6.
Don't forget LaShawn McCoy dealing with
yes.
busted up ribs.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not busted up, but he's having rib issues. That's not good for a running back.
He is questionable
this
for the
game.
game.
And on top of everything else,
Calvin Benjamin is probable, but he has hip issues right now, so that's a wide receiver.
You also left out Stephon Diggs, and you left out Rudolph. Yeah, Minnesota. This game's in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
This is scary. This could be really scary. I mean, you could see Buffalo just get decimated. I mean, like badly decimated. I think Kirk Cousins lights them up like a Christmas tree. This game's not even close. I don't even think there should be a line on this game if there is.
Let's see, and that's why I said 36-6. I'd say it's a total.
You're giving
rout.
them that much? Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm giving Buffalo at least 2 field goals. That's it.
You know what? I'm going to be kind. 35-10.
Okay.
Minnesota. I mean, it's not going to be close. If they put 10 points up, Buffalo should be patting themselves on the back because how they put 10 points up, and it could very easily be like a Josh Allen bomb. God knows he's got an arm, and he showed it last week, and it was beautiful. But you're on a crappy team, dude. Sorry.
You really are. It's kind of sad because last year Sean McDermott was even being looked at as possible coach of the year, and what he was able to do with Buffalo, getting them to the playoffs and all that stuff. And now you look at it, and their team is like, it's horrible.
And you're probably looking at, I mean, unless Josh Allen comes through and pulls some stuff, pulls some insane stuff, he could be looking at a hot seat coming up here in the year. It depends. Buffalo's 0-2 right now. Who knows when they get their first win?
All right, next game, Phil, I'm going to let you take this one. Miami is hosting the Oakland Raiders, and their record is dyslexic from each other. Miami Dolphins are 2-0. Oakland Raiders are 0-2. Before I let you go on this game, because I'm going to let you take this game, because the Miami Dolphins are your team, I would like to say, because we were talking about Oakland Raiders and we were talking about pass rushes, way to screw that one up, John Gruden. I love the fact that you actually answered the question about pass rushing in the NFL, and you knew exactly what they were trying to get you to do, and you fell right through it. You didn't say his name, but you fell right through it. Why in the hell would you trade? Look, you got David Carr.
He asked what his team.
Hold on.
He was asked what his team was missing.
Hold on. You got David Carr. Okay. You've got Amari Cooper. Okay. The best player
Derek Carr.
The best player you had on your team was Khalil Mack. The one that you can literally look at every day in practice and on game day and feel comfortable, but that he was going to do what he needed to do, and you shipped him off to Chicago.
And
so,
then
Phil.
And then you're asked the question, what is your team missing? A pass rusher. Really? Come on, John, you're better than this, dude. At least I would like to think you're better than this. Oakland coming into Miami. Okay, first off, this is an early game. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern game, 12 o'clock Central. West Coast teams traveling to East Coast teams traditionally do not do very well, especially when it's an early game. Just looking at this, Tannehill has played wonderfully for Miami. You're talking just so far this year, Tannehill is 37-51, 398 yards, 4 TDs. And plus his rushing has actually been very good this year. I think he's basically coming out and proving, a lot of naysayers prior to the season starting. And I